Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 20 based on novel. So let's start. Dazzling lightning tore apart space like an ancient thunder dragon. Accompanied by an indescribable madness, it flashed across the sky. Finally, it slammed heavily onto the black array under numerous shocked gazes. Boom! The entire place appeared to turn completely silent at the moment of impact. Soon after, an overwhelming lightning glow and black light violently swept apart in a wild manner from the point of collision. It was just like a luxurious lightning fireworks. Lightning flashed like a falling star that spread over the sky. It erupted in all directions before drawing countless number of orbits in the sky. Finally, it landed in the mountain range, bringing about a loud rumbling sound. Everyone was startled when they saw the shocking collision in the sky. A fight at that level had far exceeded the territory that Lin Dong and Cao Yu could reach. Just a little remnant ripple from that collision was sufficient to crush a 5-yuan Nirvana stage expert until nothing remained. Lan Ying and the rest on the mountain top were dazzled as they stared at the lightning glow fireworks in the sky. Destruction filled that beautiful scene. What a monster! Jung Xong inhaled a deep breath. His tone was filled with shock. He was really somewhat unable to imagine that such a terrifying attack had come from Lin Dong, whose strength was merely that of 4-yuan Nirvana stage. It is likely that no one in this 100 Empire War is able to receive this attack. This fellow had actually hidden so deeply. Lan Ying was touched as she slowly nodded. It was likely that even Qin Tian would not dare to receive this attack by Lin Dong head-on. From this, everyone could tell that if the two of them were to engage in a normal fight, it was likely that the champion of this 100 Empire War would definitely be Lin Dong. The genius experts from the various empires beside Lan Ying also nodded. Even these arrogant individuals had no choice but concede after witnessing Lin Dong's attack. While everyone were adopting praising expressions, Qin Tian, who was supported by the arm at the side, had a completely gloomy expression under his lowered eyes. His fists were tightly clenched. There was an extremely dense jealousy and dissatisfaction in his eyes. With his talent, he had been looked up by countless number of people ever since he was born. Even in this 100 Empire War, where numerous talents had gathered, he also stood at the peak and overlooked all his competitors. However, he did not expect that he was actually directly defeated by Cao Yu from the Western Xian region with a single strike. On the other hand, Lin Dong, who had come from a low-rank empire, had become their savior. At the same time, he had also become the most dazzling person in this 100 Empire War. This position originally belonged to him. Qin Tian clenched his teeth with great force. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction and hatred. Bang! Lightning glow raged wildly in the sky. Finally, it crazily struck onto that enormous black array. That dark array also trembled intensely under the frightening attack from the lightning glow. Waves after waves of black light continued to spread. However, before it could form an attack, it was scattered by the wild and violent lightning glow. Cao Yu had an extremely gloomy expression as he looked at the black array trembling intensely from behind it. He could clearly sense the terrifying pressure that eroded over the array. That kind of pressure caused even him to feel shocked. Big brother Cao, the array does not appear to be able to block that fellow's attack. Zhang Wei and the others looked at the trembling dark array in fear. Without realizing it, the teasing expression that was originally on their faces had completely disappeared. Instead, a trace of horror vaguely appeared. Where are Mo Tong and the rest? Cao Yu clenched his teeth. Regardless of how unwilling he was, he no longer dared to act arrogantly at this moment. Big brother Mo Tong and the others have been blocked. It seems like our plans were leaked. Those super sects experts from the Eastern Xian region have begun to infiltrate this realm. A person beside Zhang Wei spoke with a pale face. The experts from the Eastern Xian region have arrived here. Cao Yu's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. They did not bring many people along for this mission. After all, if a large number of them were to invade this space, it would definitely be detected by those super sects of the Eastern Xian region. Although the Eastern Xian region's sects continued to fight repeatedly amongst themselves, the Western Xian region was a common enemy of theirs. Once these super sects were to discover that they had entered this ancient battlefield, those super sects would definitely dispatch experts over. At that time, their group would definitely end up being outnumbered. It is all thanks to this damn brat. Chang Wei gritted his teeth and said. If it was not because of this person's sudden appearance, it was likely that they would have already finished the formation. How else would they end up in this kind of miserable situation? Big brother Cao, the array is about to be broken. Cao Yu's expression was dark and solemn. He was just about to think of some countermeasure when a sharp voice was suddenly emitted from the side. It shocked Cao Yu to the point of hurriedly turning his head. There was indeed numerous slight cracked lines appearing on the large array that hung in the sky. This was a sign that the array was about to collapse. That bastard, Cao Yu involuntarily cursed. He did not expect that with his 6 yuan nirvana stage strength and the heaven-sealing array, he was still unable to block Lin Dong's attack. Cao Yu's heart felt quite stifled. He clearly knew that it was impossible for Lin Dong to beat him if they were to fight head-on. Furthermore, he could only stack these 3 trials together once. In other words, Lin Dong only had one opportunity. However, it was this single opportunity that caused him to feel incomparably stifled. Crack! However, regardless of how he felt suffocated or furious, the cracked lines on the black array did not reduce because of it. Instead, they swiftly became dense. There was a slight cracking sound vaguely being emitted. The cracking sound became increasingly loud. A moment later, the black array had already instantly been covered by cracked lines. Quick, withdraw! Cao Yu's eyes immediately shrunk upon seeing this scene. He was aware that he was unable to block any longer. All he could do was to clench his teeth unwillingly, wave his hand and withdrew quickly. Chang Wei and the rest beside him were also frightened until their expressions changed. They were aware that if the wild and violent lightning blow was to pour over, they would definitely end up dead. All of them immediately retreated hastily. Bang! When Cao Yu's group chose to flee, the enormous black array finally reached its limit. Finally, it emitted a bang under the attack from the lightning blow and completely burst apart. He has actually shattered the array. Lin Dong has won. Everyone on the mountain top watched this scene. A wild joy surfaced on their faces immediately. They were aware that Cao Yu's group, which had lost the protection of the array, would definitely lose their most powerful tactic. The battle between Lin Dong and Cao Yu also finally ended with the former gaining the upper hand. Bang! The array was shattered. Monstrous lightning glow wildly penetrated through it like a lightning dragon. After which, it contained an incomparably wild and violent momentum as it rushed out crazily. Bastard, it's not over yet. Cao Yu and the others, who had retreated explosively, looked at the wild violence of the lightning glow. Immediately, their expressions had become extremely ugly. Let's attack together. Cao Yu let out a low roar. Chang Wei and the others could only clench his teeth upon hearing Cao Yu's low roar. He prepared to maneuver his yuan power to attack with the others. Just as they were about to attack, however, that incomparably wild and violent lightning glow suddenly whistled past their head. It actually did not attack them. This scene caused Cao Yu and the rest to be stunned. They immediately turned their heads around. He wants to rescue the experts from the super sects. The lightning glow tore through the empty space like a thunderbolt in front of the frightened eyes of Cao Yu's group. After which, it directly smashed towards the black seal in the distant sky. The interior of the seal prison currently trapped the old man from the Dao sect and the others from the super sects. Lin Dong clearly understood that defeating Cao Yu and the others at this moment would not resolve the problem. He must help the old man from the Dao sect and the rest to escape. This was because they could only completely resolve the problem after they escaped. Otherwise, just one random person from Jung Song's group would be able to deal with all of them, who belonged to the younger generation. Cao Yu, what are you doing? Jung Xong, who was doing his best to trap the old man from the Dao sect and the rest from outside the Black Seal prison, was also shocked by this sudden attack. His expression became green as he cried out explosively. They were currently having an even match with the old man from the Dao sect and the others. Any little external interference would cause all their effort to come to naught. Cao Yu's expression was pale white. His face was filled with bitterness. He had also done his best, but he was ultimately defeated by Lin Dong's crazy move. Bang! Lightning glow wildly poured over the Black Seal prison. Immediately, the entire place trembled. After which, Cao Yu saw numerous cracked lines begin to surface on that seal prison. It is over. Cao Yu's heart immediately sunk when those cracked lines appeared. He was aware that the operation of their Western Xian region would likely end in failure this time around. The main reason for the failure was actually because of a little fellow, who was only at 4 Yuan Nirvana stage. The incomparably wild and violent lightning glow frantically rammed into the seal prison. As terrifying energy seeped out, even space itself started to twist and distort. Crack! Crack spread rapidly on the seal prison, and upon seeing this, the expressions of Jung Song's group turned ashen. They knew that if the old man from the Dao sect and rest were to escape, trapping them all again would not be easy. Strengthen the seal with everything you've got. Jung Song roared in a low voice. Just as he was about to activate the power of the heaven sealing array, numerous extremely frightening undulations suddenly erupted from within the prison. Clearly, the Dao sect old man and the rest were making use of this chance and were crazily unleashing all their attacks. Crack crack! Under the all-out attacks of the Dao sect old man group and the lightning glow, the cracks on the seal prison swiftly extended at a shocking rate. Oh no! The seal prison is about to break. When he saw this unstoppable destruction, the expression of a shady-looking old man beside Jung Xong changed, as he cried out in alarm. Bang! Before his cry could fade, his pupils suddenly shrunk tightly. The seal prison had begun to swell rapidly at this moment. He could only hear a shockingly loud sound as the seal prison exploded. Frightening energy ripples swept across the sky like a huge wave as 8 rainbow lights flew out from the explosion, before swiftly scattering. Damn it! Upon seeing the now free Dao sect old man and the rest, Jung Xong immediately became extremely furious. His red eyes turned to Cao Yu as he roared, "You useless garbage! You can't even deal with younger generation members who have yet to enter the super sects." Cao Yu's group wore faces full of shame. They also felt incomparably stifled and wronged within their hearts. Normally, the people here would be completely outclassed by them. However, no one had expected the appearance of someone like Lin Dong. This fellow fought in a manner that completely defied logic, summoning 3 wind lightning trials the moment he appeared. Moreover, the most unbelievable part was that this fellow was actually able to harness the power of the wind lightning trial to break their defenses. Jung Xong, sir, it is all because of that brat Lin Dong. He summoned 3 wind lightning trials, and even though Big Brother Cao used the power of the heaven sealing array, he was still defeated by that brat, Zhang Wei explained bitterly. Lin Dong? Jung Song's eyes hardened. His dark and stern eyes swept over and immediately locked onto Lin Dong. Under such a glare, Lin Dong immediately felt a chill around him as his heart suddenly shivered. The blood soul puppet appeared in front of him while his face filled with caution. Now that the wind lightning trial had dissipated, he had lost his greatest trump card. Even though his mental energy had already soared to the 4 seal heaven symbol master level, he understood that it was still not enough to bring him anywhere close to Jung Song's level. After all, the latter rivaled the super sect elites. Ha ha, Jung Song, are you not ashamed of threatening a younger generation member despite your status? Is the skin on your old face really so thick? Just as Lin Dong was taking precautions, an elderly figure suddenly cut in front of Jung Song's gaze. Lin Dong looked over, only to discover that it was the Dao sect old man known as Wu Dao. Ha ha, this little fellow has done well, and has done us a great service. If he is willing, he can become a direct disciple at my Great Desolate Palace. That expert from the Great Desolate Palace laughed loudly. His laughter was like thunder that rumbled over the entire sky. This little fellow's performance is worthy of being the champion of this 100 Empire War. The pretty woman from the 9 Heavens Supreme Purity Palace also remarked with a smile. Liu Tong from the Yuan Gate frowned slightly upon hearing this. He glanced in the direction of Qin Qian, a trace of displeasure in his eyes. Clearly, He was a little resentful that the latter was unable to stop Cao Yu. Qin Qian lowered his head even further upon receiving Liu Tong's gaze. His fists tightened until cracking sounds could be heard. Humph, Wu Dao, Liu Tong, it is a little too early for all of you to be celebrating. Even though you have escaped, do you think that we are unable to deal with you? Jung Song's expression was dark and cold, while a furious smile hung on his face. With the heaven-sealing array, you are indeed rather powerful. However, as long as we are no longer trapped in one location by you, we will be able to disrupt all of you, causing you to be unable to establish the formation. As time goes on, the experts from our Eastern Xian region will naturally come and assist us. At that time, I would really like to see what else you have up your sleeves. Wu Dao smilingly said. Jung Song's expression sunk immediately upon hearing this. He laughed coldly. Go ahead and try. Do it. A cry was emitted from Jung Song's mouth. Immediately, the people behind him suddenly began to form a series of hand seals. Space wriggled as a terrifying black light once again surged out. Cao Yu, kill all those that hinder us. While Jung Song was preparing to attack, he also let out a stern cry towards Cao Yu. Understood. Cao Yu nodded heavily. He immediately turned his head around and venomously stared at Lin Dong, before his sinister voice rang out, now that you have lost the wind lightning trial, let me see how else you can retaliate. Lin Dong merely smiled a little in response to Cao Yu's vicious gaze. His hands slowly spread out as majestic mental energy spread apart. This surging feeling was many times stronger than what it was before. The current Lin Dong not only possesses a Yuan power cultivation of the full Yuan Nirvana stage, but his mental energy cultivation had also reached for Seal Heaven Symbol Master. With the two, he would even be able to fight against a 6 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. It would no longer be like before where he barely posed a threat. Cao Yu's pupils shrunk slightly when he sensed the vast and mighty mental energy from Lin Dong's body, while an additional trace of genuine seriousness appeared within his eyes. Before, Lin Dong was someone who needed to rely on tricks in order to contend against him. However, the current Lin Dong could go toe-to-toe with a 6 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. Being able to attain such accomplishments in mental energy and Yuan power cultivation is testament to your ability. This 100 Empire War of the Eastern Xian region does indeed have some true worth. However, even though you can fight against a 6 Yuan Nirvana stage expert, you still cannot match up to me. Cao Yu laughed coldly. Lin Dong did not refute these words. Qin Qian's strength was also at the 6 Yuan Nirvana stage. However, he was defeated in one single move when Cao Yu activated the power of the heaven-sealing array. The reason that Lin Dong could withstand the earlier attack was completely due to the usage of the Blood Soul Puppet. However, the Blood Soul Puppet had paid the price was now practically ruined. Just do it. Regardless, the current Lin Dong did not have any intentions of withdrawing. He extended his hand and smiled slightly towards Cao Yu. At this moment, he only wanted to rely on his own strength to battle against Cao Yu. Stubborn fellow! Cao Yu's eyes turned cold. He finally ceased uttering any unnecessary words. His hand seal changed and a strange black light once again surged out. It vaguely transformed into a black skull surrounded by a thick black smoke, which released a sharp sonic wave. Heaven's sealing skull. Cao Yu waved his hand and the enormous black skull immediately rushed out, accompanied by thick smoke as it swept towards Lin Dong with a great momentum. Space itself became distorted wherever the sonic wave passed. Lin Dong's eyes were grave as he observed Cao Yu's attack. He was just about to maneuver his Yuan power and mental energy to fight with his opponent when his expression suddenly changed. He had discovered that the space in front of him was actually starting to wiggle. After which, a figure appeared from nowhere. A hand thrust forward as majestic Yuan power surged forth and crushed the skull until it exploded. Who? This sudden scene also caused Cao Yu's expression to change drastically while he cried out in fury. Ha ha, Dao Sect disciple, Zhao Qian. The man wearing pale white clothes in front of Lin Dong raised his head and laughed towards Cao Yu. A disciple of the Dao Sect? Have the experts from the super sects arrived? Lin Dong was also startled because of this. Friends from the Western Xian region, news of what has happened within this ancient realm has already been transmitted to the various super sects of the Eastern Xian region. Currently, the experts from the various sects are hurrying over. If everyone hesitates a little longer, it is likely that all of you will be trapped. The white-clothed man appeared and blocked Cao Yu. After which, he looked into the distance and chuckled as he spoke out in a clear voice. What? Have we been discovered? The expressions of Jung Song's group changed drastically upon hearing this voice. They suddenly turned their heads and discovered that numerous distortions had appeared in the area. It was possible to see numerous blurry figures gradually appearing from these distorted spots. From their clothes, one could tell that these people were members of the super sects. The experts from the 8 super sects have arrived. Lin Dong raised his head and looked at the distorted spaces, a trace of surprise in his eyes. Were these the disciples of the super sects? They did indeed possess extremely powerful auras. As Lin Dong's gaze swept across the distorted spaces, the surprise on his face suddenly started to freeze. His lips were pressed tightly together as his heart began to beat even more intensely. The spot where his eyes stopped at was yet another distorted space. However, there was a figure standing elegantly at that spot. That cold demeanor and appearance was the same as it was a couple of years ago. Ling Qingshu. At this moment, Lin Dong's fists slowly tightened. The empty space distorted, forming a black tunnel. There were already over a dozen figures that had already arrived through it. Lin Dong's eyes were currently glued onto a spot at the front of the group, where a beautiful figure stood. The beautiful figure was wearing a light green dress which complemented her tall, soft and lovely body. Even from a distance away, one could see her flawless snow-white skin. A piece of gauze covered her face, but the outline of her almost perfect features were still visible. Paired with her flowing eyes, it made the world seem as if it had lost its colors. Barefooted, she gently stood atop a green lotus like a daughter of the Moon Palace or a fairy that had fallen to the mortal realm. A sight that could not help but make many feel inferior. This appearance was exactly the same as 4 years ago. However, a cold demeanor was even colder than it was back then. Lin Dong's body trembled slightly as he raised his head and exhaled deeply. He forcefully suppressed his heart, which had not felt so restless in a long time. Unknowingly, for years had passed since then. The immature youth back then had unwittingly become a young man. He had walked out from a low-rank empire and arrived at this ancient battlefield where geniuses were as numerous as the clouds. In the end, he managed to stand above everyone else. When little Martin had instigated Lin Dong to participate in the 100 Empire War and be honed by it, the former knew that Lin Dong had agreed partly because of one sentence that a lady known as Ling Qingshu had said. "If you wish to repay me for rescuing you, we can talk about it after you possess the qualifications to participate in the 100 Empire War. Lin Dong, hopefully, you will not be so weak the next time we meet." Someone truly strong does not merely rely on his tongue. Little Martin clearly understood that with Lin Dong's character, it was basically impossible for him to take such words from those around him to heart under normal circumstances. However, it was clear that Lin Dong had difficulty ignoring these words from the first woman in his life. Although part of the reason for Lin Dong's efforts over the years was to raise his strength and protect his family, perhaps only Lin Dong himself was aware that deep within his heart, he was haunted by the pride of a man. He did not wish to be looked down upon by those clear eyes. Yet, he was also aware of the enormous gap between his status and Ling Qingshu's. The latter was able to easily attain what he had to spend a great effort to on. Moreover, her talent made many geniuses pale in comparison. She was truly a lady blessed by the heavens. How could it be easy to catch up and surpass her? If it were not for that absurd situation in the ancient tomb back then, Lin Dong believed that he and Ling Qingshu might never have interacted with each other. However, there was no if in this world. Hence, 2 parallel lines changed their original trajectory, while Lin Dong had also dedicated all his effort into making himself powerful. Ling Qingshu had believed that it was impossible for him to defeat Lin Langqian back then. However, the genius who was once the most dazzling person of the Lin clan, had already completely been wiped out by Lin Dong earlier. Ling Qingshu had believed that it was impossible for him to attain the right to participate in the 100 Empire War back then. However, at this very moment, No one dared to deny that Lin Dong was this 100 Empire Wars champion and had also become the most dazzling existence in this 100 Empire War. The current Lin Dong was also no longer that same innocent youth who had never seen the world. In this ancient battlefield, he had become aware of how small and weak the great Yang Empire was. He also understood just how someone of Ling Qingzhu's status had viewed those so-called geniuses from the great Yang Empire back then. Lin Dong did not wish to act triumphantly in front of the woman who had left such a deep mark on his heart. All he wanted to do was to let the latter understand that the weak youth in her eyes back then would definitely exceed her expectations. Lin Dong looked at the elegant figure with a cold fairy-like demeanor standing on a green lotus. A moment later, he suddenly smiled and slowly descended from the sky. "Oh, it was extremely difficult for you to meet her again. Yet, you didn't go and greet her." Little Martin teasingly stared at Lin Dong and said. He had also recognized Ling Qingzhu. Moreover, he also understood just what kind of mark this woman had left on Lin Dong's heart. "It is still a little early," Lin Dong softly replied. He could sense an extremely powerful pressure from Ling Qingzhu. It was clear that Ling Qingzhu had become much stronger compared to 4 years ago. Even the current Lin Dong was still unable to match up to her. This kind of result did not cause Lin Dong to despair. Ling Qingzhu was a child blessed by the heavens. It was within reason to have such an achievement in 4 years. Moreover, the reason Lin Dong chose not to meet her was not because he felt inferior. It was because he had said back then that the next time he appeared, he would directly tell her that a woman that he had slept with would be his forever. Currently, Lin Dong did not think that he possessed the qualifications to say these words. The current him was no longer the arrogant and ignorant youth from back then. However, this meeting had at least allowed Lin Dong to know that there was still a gap between them. However, this gap was no longer as vast as before. This beautiful figure no longer caused him to feel a distant and untouchable feeling in his heart like before. There will definitely be an opportunity to meet in the future. Lin Dong raised his head and stared at the cold figure in the distance while he slowly spoke. "Damn it." Jung Song's expression was rather twisted as he watched the distorted spaces. From these spots, he could sense the auras many experts becoming increasingly clearer. It was obvious that their plan this time around had been completely exposed. "They have arrived rather quickly." Wu Dao was also a little surprised. He immediately smiled towards Jung Xong and said, "Looks like your plans this time have failed again." "Bastard." Jung Song's face was steely green, and an incomparable rage boiled in his heart. They had laid in waiting for so long, however, all their hard work was wasted in the end. "Since you are here, there is no need to leave. Our Yuan Gate will represent the Eastern Xian region to trial you properly." Liu Tong laughed coldly. Currently, the situation of Jung Song's group had completely turned around. "Consider us unlucky this time around. However, whether we remain behind is not something that you, Liu Tong, is qualified to decide." Jung Song mocked. "You still dare to act tough at such a time?" Liu Tong was extremely furious. He stepped forward as majestic Yuan power surged out and directly transformed into a Yuan power light plate. The plate flashed, tearing through the skies towards Jung Xong at a terrifying speed. "Everyone, attack together. Do not allow them to escape." Liu Tong also cried out when he attacked. "Humph." Jung Song's expression was dark and solemn. His hand seal changed and the black cloud in the sky wiggled. Finally, an enormous black crack was torn in the space. Black light surged out from within the crack. In the end, it transformed into a black scroll that hovered in front of Jung Xong. An extremely frightening ripple was continuously spread out from within the black scroll. "Heaven's sealing array." Liu Tong's expression immediately changed when he saw the black scroll. There was a rich greed deep within his eyes. The black scroll shook gently and a black light pillar shot out. It swept downwards and shattered Liu Tong's attack. Immediately, Jung Song's hand seal changed. Circular black light wildly swept out from the scroll, forming into an array under their feet. The Eastern Xian region does indeed live up to its reputation. You will be allowed to manage this ancient battlefield for a while longer. However, in the next big Xian region battle, this entire space shall belong to my Western Xian region. Ha ha. Jung Xong laughed coldly at Liu Tong's group when the formation took shape. They plan on escaping. Liu Tong's expression changed immediately upon seeing this scene. He was just about to attack when monstrous black light erupted from the array. Black light pillars instantly wrapped around Jung Song's group. After which, a ripping sound appeared. Space was torn and the array disappeared into nowhere. All the experts from the Western Xian region, including Jung Xong, also disappeared at the same time. Bastard! Liu Tong immediately cursed furiously after seeing Jung Song's group swagger away. Deacon Liu Tong, no need to be so furious. They possess the heaven's sealing array after all. No one can stop them if they truly wish to leave. Wu Dao smiled and spoke in an indifferent manner. I think that we should continue with the 100 Empire War. However, I believe that there is already a prime candidate for the champion spot. Humph! Liu Tong snorted coldly in his heart when he heard this. His eyes were a little gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. They've escaped? The experts from the various super sects felt a little regretful as they watched Jung Xong and the others flee. However, they could do nothing about it. A wasted trip. Let's pack up and leave. Some of the disciples from the super sects were not interested in staying any longer. All of them bowed towards the elders from their sect in the distance before turning around to leave. We should also leave. Atop a green lotus near a distorted space, Ling Qingshu's eyes quickly swept across the area. After which, she turned around, leading the dozen over figures behind her as they disappeared. After their figures disappeared, Ling Qingshu and the others transformed into numerous rainbows that rushed towards the exterior of this space and headed towards the Eastern Xian region. When they were entering the exterior of the realm, a golden light suddenly shot over, and was received by a lady behind Ling Qingshu. Senior Mu, what is it? Someone asked curiously. A Yuan spirit transmission. Nothing much. It's only news about the current 100 Empire War. The lady smilingly replied. What is there to talk about? The champion is most likely someone from the Qian Yuan Empire. We are already used to it, a person curled her mouth and said. Ha ha, the Yuan Gate is indeed strong, but no matter how strong it is, the super genius from the Yuan Gate known as Little Yuan Lord is merely a frantic pursuer of our senior sister Qingshu. It is rumored that he even plans of asking his elders to propose a marriage. A couple of ladies by the side giggled. Noisy. At the front, as she stood on a green lotus, Ling Qingshu's pretty eyes shifted a little. Her cold voice caused the ladies to extend their tongues, but they did not dare to continue making fun of her. All of you are wrong this time. The champion of this 100 Empire War is not someone from the Qian Yuan Empire. The lady, who had received the Yuan spirit transmission, laughed. Oh? Then who is it? To actually be able to surpass those from the Qian Yuan Empire, everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even Ling Qingshu also slightly reduced her flying speed. I am not too familiar with this person and have no idea which empire he comes from. It seems to be someone called Lin Dong. The lady's voice had just sounded out when Ling Qingshu's figure suddenly froze. Disbelief suddenly surged in her usually cold and quiet lake-like eyes. Was it that Lin Dong? Did he really participate in the 100 Empire War? This video will end here.